Okay, so here's a Newsmax tweet sent to me by, I don't even know how to pronounce that. It's the username is A63ACO. This is Newsmax on the official Newsmax Twitter page, mind you. How bad is the all-time best-selling Grand Theft Auto video game for kids? Carl, yeah, that looks like a Carl, debates its effects with a panel of experts on Frontline on Newsmax. Okay, he debates it. Let's see this debate. Let's see Carl debate some experts.
Wow. Far and away the hottest selling video game in history of, I don't know, ever. Grand Theft Auto 5, now 10 years later, has over 185 million games in circulation with more than $8 billion in revenue since it came out. Well, Grand Theft Auto 6 is set to debut a little over a year out, and they're already anticipating a $3.5 billion opening sale.
That is massive. Isn't GTA the most lucrative franchise of all time at this point? Like, I think it even outsold Star Wars at some point.
Now, aside from the fact that I think video games melt your brain and they're stupid.
Wow, okay, yeah. As opposed to the news media, that has no negative effect at all on the psychology of the average citizen.
What does this say about us as a society? That the
As a society. Fucking leave the bottle alone for 5 fucking seconds, man.
number one selling video game is titled after a felony, Grand
So what?
Theft Auto, centers around violence against women, picking up hookers, beating up...
No, it doesn't. Here's the thing, like, if you actually gave video games a fucking fair chance, you would know what you're talking about, which you don't. At no point in the entire franchise of Grand Theft Auto has it been centered on violence against women. That's preposterous. You're talking out of your anus, good sir. And the news media has the fucking temerity to be like, why don't people trust us anymore? It's like, maybe it's because you hire people like this. You hire these fucking, like, stuffed suit, empty suit, cigar-smoking cocksuckers who opine on shit they have no business talking about. You don't even know what the fuck this video game is about. You don't know the premise of it. You have no idea what it even, how it appeals to its audience. You have no idea. You're just making shit up. Yeah, exactly. Zavaria just said it. They've been saying the exact same thing since the 90s. They're like, look at all these video games. And by the way, I think they actually get into, like, you know, does this cause youth violence? Which I have a reputation for that. You know, the same one that I've always had, which is youth violence has been on a steady decline since video games became all the more popular. His aim is to demonize this game and video games in general. And I guess we're in for a debate. I don't know if, like, Newsmax is the best setting for a debate. The way, like, news shows are formatted, and I'm sure you've seen this if you've ever seen, like, some talking heads on, like, CNN or something. They bring on, like, people with different points of view, and everybody gets, like, 10 seconds per person to espouse, like, elaborate points where, like, you know, they have all these sources prepared, but it's like, you know, Jeremy, what do you think? And it's like, oh, well, you know, I disagree. Okay, well, Nathan, what do you think? You know, and then after like a minute of talking, they're like, okay, well, that's all the time we have for that. So it's not a good, it's not an appropriate setting for a debate, I think.
Random bystanders and shooting at cops. The irony is that as a society, we're being neutered already and taught that words are violence, and if you call somebody the wrong pronoun, you can cause PTSD.
Okay, we're gonna take it there, huh? We're gonna do this anti-woke thing now. All right. Aren't you talking about Grand Theft Auto? Like, stay on point. It's infuriating how, like, everything comes back to this anti-woke thing. Dude, I shit you not, I saw a video, and you can find this on YouTube yourself if you don't believe me. I saw this video where this woman, she went up to this teenage girl, and was basically like, you know, you're dressed immodestly. You know, she, like, pulled down the skirt on this teen, and then she had the cops called on her, and when the cops showed up and spoke to her about it, the cop, like, fucking sided with her, and the cop kept going off on, like, anti-woke fucking rants. He's like, oh, yeah, society's too sensitive these days. You can't say anything without offending anyone. It's like, this woman literally fucking touched an underage person inappropriately? Can we just focus on that? Everything has to either be pro or anti-woke. We can't just have a conversation about the topic at hand. It all has to come full circle in some fucked up, stupid way back to I'm either pro or anti-woke. It's exhausting. I'm tired of hearing people yammer incessantly about this. Shut the fuck up. Thank you.
There's an entire political party that wants to criminalize hate speech, yet not a word about our kids learning to be violent felons on a video game.
Aren't you in favor of censorship too, then? It's like, look at these people, they want to censor something innocuous. By the way, here's me advocating censoring something innocuous. You're doing the thing you're criticizing other people for doing. And instead of, like, actually delving into the topic at hand, which, by the way, if you're a journalist, you should do that. Isn't that your fucking job? Isn't it your responsibility as a person reporting on something to know about the thing you're talking about, at least?
Board-certified clinical psychologist Dr. Jeffrey Gardner and primary care doctor at Massachusetts General Hospital, Dr. Peter Grinspoon. Look, Dr. Grinspoon, what do you make of...
Doctor, please.
...this, and what is this doing to our kids?
Swegta, you're too woke. Damn.
Well... What do I make of it? The same things that...
What do I make of it? It'd be fucking awesome if he's just kind of like kicking back like... What do I make of it? Who gives a fuck? That would just be the end of it. It's like, oh, well, thank you for your time, Peter.
Make it sort of inappropriate for the kids. The sexuality, the violence. Sometimes there are even drugs in these games. Or what make it...
Sometimes, yeah. Occasionally there's drugs.
So popular and so enticing. It's sort of like forbidden fruit. And... I worry mostly about the violence and about how kids can get really desensitized to violence. I also worry about these games are so engaging and compelling. I worry about the addictiveness.
So basically he's just saying, like, these games have all this awesome shit in them. Jesus Christ, my hair. These games have all this awesome shit in them. And that's concerning because they're going to become really addictive. So, in a way, he's kind of like hyping this game up unintentionally. Like, look at how fucking awesome this is going to be. How can we possibly handle this?
Other injuries you can get, like thumb injuries, carpal tunnel syndrome, tennis elbow. There are a lot of...
I mean, if you're playing video games so often and you're delving so much time into it that you're getting injured from it, you should probably just find a different hobby. At the very least, add some variety to your free time and maybe find something else to occasionally do. Whatever happened to just having personal responsibility? Isn't Newsmax like this, at least like this, the fucking journalist in this video, isn't he like a conservative? Aren't they all about personal responsibility? Whatever happened to that? Like, if you do a certain thing over and over again and it can result in you getting some kind of injury, then yeah, that's on you. You took that fucking risk. People are... Okay, there's henceforth, no fucking preaching in my chat. This whole, like, Jesus thing, we're not doing that, alright? Number one, I'm an atheist. I don't give a fuck about that. Number two, it's irrelevant to the topic at hand, alright? Let's stay on point, okay? If you believe in God and that brings you joy and all that goodness, good for you, but, like, don't fucking spam it in the chat like, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. I don't care. That's not what we're talking about. This is not like a Bible study, okay?
But this video game in particular, I agree, is very violent and very sort of sexualized. And, what happens is the older kids play it because there's an age restriction, but then the younger kids sort of...
That's the ticket. That's how you play all the good shit when you're a kid, by the way. You walk in on, like, your older brother playing Manhunt or something, and you're like, oh, what's this? And he's like, oh, you're too young for this, but it's pretty awesome, check it out. And you watch some executions in the game, and you're like, wow! And then you play the game by yourself when nobody's looking, and that's how you find the good shit. It's a little bit like, like back in the 90s and 2000s, when they put those parental advisory stickers on albums, it actually helped album sales, because you're like, oh, this is the real shit.
And watch it and get really exposed to it, and I don't think it's very healthy at all.
Dr. Gardner, Elon Musk responded to an
Of course he did.
Ex-employee's an ex-employee that had played Grand Theft Auto, saying, quote, tried it, didn't like doing the crime. GTA 5 required shooting police officers in the opening scene, just couldn't do it.
Dude. Lame. Has there ever been a lamer take on anything ever than that? It's like, I tried playing GTA 5, but I just could not make it past the opening scene because it involved me shooting cops. Dude, it's a game about bank heists. Bank robbers, at least like in, fiction, they shoot cops. It happens. See, this is what I mean. Like, you know, you constantly see people complaining about, like, how everybody's too sensitive, but at the same time, they're like, I can't make it past the first mission in GTA 5 because I don't want to shoot the fictional cops.
At least some kids are coming around, right?
Let's debate my dude who thinks we came from nothing. Jesus is Lord, King of Kings, died for me and you, cross, 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 cross. Damn. I'm a Christian now, you pwned me. My landlord has been preaching this Jesus shit to me as well, and I'm not falling for it, alright? Guilt-tripping people and spamming my chat and fucking, you know, writing this, like, arrogant stuff, that's not gonna convert me or anybody else. If anything, it's gonna repel people from your ideology. You're shooting yourself in the dick.
Yeah, and you know what this all comes down to, the good doctor is right. I mean, there are so many concerns about, you know, if all you do, if your diet is all about video games, violent video games, these are things over time that keeps you from interacting with people, perhaps in more appropriate ways.
I mean, if you spend all day playing video games, see, like, I think, like, a lot of this stuff in this debate, which, this is not a debate, this is basically, like, this, I hesitate to call, I'm using this term loosely, this journalist bringing on two people in hopes that they're just gonna blindly side with him, and when they don't, he's like, well, come on, I mean, you know, it's like, no. If anything, it seems like both of the experts on the panel, their main concern appears to be that video games can be addictive, not that they cause violence or instill some kind of moral decay in society or have some kind of deleterious effect on the youth outside of possibly being a bit addictive. And yeah, video games can be addictive. Depends on the person, but yeah, some people are prone to developing addictions, especially when it comes to, like, the media they consume, like pornography or video games. That's possible. You brought these two people on in hopes that they would just, like, side with you immediately, and instead they've gone off in a completely different direction, and they're like, video games can be addictive. But, you know, looks kind of cool, though. It's like, mission failed.
Something else, there are health issues because you're not going out, you're not playing, you're not being physical in a way that's appropriate with regard to exercise. But, you know, the other thing is, I know a lot of people feel that these video games may cause, you know, violent behaviors. Right now, the studies are really mixed there. We really don't know what it is.
They're mixed. In other words, we have nothing.
What the studies are showing is that it can. But what the study
can't be good. Based on what? Dumbass, he just told you we don't have anything to corroborate this claim. And you're like, well, still.
What he's saying is that they can cause aggression, and certainly aggression is different from violence. But I think the key thing here, and I think the good doctor might agree with me, is if you have someone who has a severe psychological issue or is in a violent home and all they're getting is more reinforcement for violence, then this certainly can hurt someone, because there are kids who do play it and they don't get in trouble, they don't get violent.
Look at how defeated this motherfucker looks. He's like, oh, fuck, I gotta salvage this somehow. I mean, I've tried the whole, like, come on thing. It doesn't seem to convince them, so, like, what now? This is a huge failure of a panel, Jesus Christ. You bring on these two people, assuming they're gonna side with you, and when they don't, you just look defeated.
Absorbing these particular games.
Dr. Grinspoon, I got less than 30 seconds left. If we're in a society that is blaming everything on everything, how could this not be a factor?
What? Let me hear that again. What is your point?
If we're in a society that is blaming everything on everything, how could this not be a factor?
We live in a society, don't we? Dr. Ginsburg. What kind of fucking argument is that? We live in a society where we blame everything on everything. What does that even mean? You just said nothing. I have 30 seconds left, so here's a bunch of gibberish. Dude, just bail. Just admit defeat. At this point, like, I would actually have a modicum of respect for this motherfucker if he just owned up to it and he's like, this has not gone the way that I expected. I'm ending this now.
Well, it is a factor, but, you know, it's just important to educate people and to hopefully get these kids to play in moderation. You know, I don't love Grand Theft Auto for the reasons we've discussed, but it's a difference if you play a video game for an hour and then you go outside and play with your friends, or if you play video games for 8 hours a day. So I think it's very important we keep a limit to the screen time.
Dude. A reasonable person, a reasonable human being who's like, I don't like this thing, but I don't see how it's harmful in the long run, as long as you give it some moderation, like, hey, you know, instead of like constantly playing video games 24/7, go outside, go for a fucking walk on occasion, have fun, enjoy life. Wow. That's incredible. This is like a sandwich of two reasonable human beings who I disagree with somewhat, and right in the middle is just like a turd of a person who's just like totally misguided and wrong. This is the face telling you that your hobby is wrong and it's like unethical and immoral. And then when you press him on it and you're like, well, what is your evidence? And he brings on experts and they say, we don't have any evidence. He's just kind of like, well, flim flam flibbity doo. Let me just throw some word salad your way. How do you like that point? It's like, you never made a point. None of you really made a point against GTA. None of you made any kind of, like, solid critique beyond, hey, it's really fun and addictive. All you're doing is convincing me to buy the game on launch. So thank you for that, I guess.